H.R.H. Herbert's 100 Harem. All right, spill it, Chitter tells him, and he slowly turns to give her an odd look. You're clearly planning something. I've seen that look on the face of those children. I see it somewhat on yours in the moments you let your guard down, but you have much bigger concerns than an actual child. What's going on? He considers before nodding and pulling out one of the weapons he had confiscated before holding it out to her in a non-threatening manner. Examine that. Tell me what's missing. Her pincers grab the pipe-shaped plasma weapon and she slowly goes over it. Firing mechanism, compression chamber, magnetic bottling mechanisms, axiom siphon, atmospheric siphon, range-finding laser, numerous fully functional linkages. She goes over the components of the weapon slowly and carefully, then looks up as Herbert pulls out a pistol. He then slides out the magazine and ejects the bullet left in the chamber, catching it with ease and pocketing all the ammunition. He then holds out his own weapon for her to examine. Perhaps another weapon for compare will make things clearer. She takes it in her more human-like hands and begins examining it as well. Well, yours is entirely mechanical by compare, not to mention designed to be held in hand rather than incorporated into a larger weapons platform, so there are clear differences. But they both have intake areas for their ammunition, a firing mechanism, outer framework, and what's this little bit here? That's the safety. It's to stop my weapon from misfiring, he explains. Is this what the cannon is missing? No, it's something else, he answers, and she goes back to examining the weapon. I doubt it's the construction methods or the specifics of what makes these objects weapons that has you so concerned. Yours is more robust, but that's the nature of a mechanical device over an electronic one. I must admit, beyond the specifics, I don't really... What is this? She says, and he smiles at her. He knows what she's looking at. Good catch. I was worried you wouldn't find it at all. What are these markings? They look similar, somewhat, to the crest of the Undaunted, but there's more below it. They're my initials, numbering above them all the crest of the Undaunted. It means I personally made that weapon after the founding. He explains, and comprehension dawns. It's your personal manufacturer's mark, and I can't find it on that plasma weapon. Now it might be ignorance on my part, but he begins to say before she hands him his pistol back, and she adjusts the plasma cannon in her grip. She starts examining along the underside and frowns even as Herbert reloads the pistol completely and ensures the ejected bullet is inserted into the magazine. Can't find it, can you? No, I cannot, she says. It's not technically illegal in overall centrist law. However, the vast majority of spires and plates require them. Any weapon found without identifying marks that can be used to register them is to be immediately destroyed. And what's Undaunted policy? Evaluate them, mark them, register them, and this is all while we investigate the potential source of weapons, Herbert says, looking up at her and holding out his hand for the cannon. She gives it back and he tucks it away. I've got a courier heading our way. After that, I'm going into the kids' clubhouse to see if I can find evidence of them making the weapons themselves. If they did make the weapons themselves, then I just need to encourage them to come up with a marking for it so all current and future weapons can be registered properly. If not, then I need to find out where they came from. And how do you investigate such things? Start with the easy way and work your way to the more complicated if you need more, he answers. And the easy way is, she asks him, and he laughs. Hey guys! He suddenly turns and calls out to the kids, waving his arms for attention and with a big smile on his face. They scramble over and he pulls out a small purple bag with yellow embroidery and drawstrings. I'll give you a bag of candy eggs if you all tell me where you got those cool guns you put on a Mozzie 2's first body. They all talk at once and explain in detail as they grab the candy from him, open up the bag, and quickly start chewing through the treats with a gusto, still explaining, bragging, and spinning tall stories about it all as they do so before Sister West calls them back. It's time for them all to go home after all, and he's just given them a proper sugar high to make her night complete. The sugar content in that candy was obscene, Chitter rebukes him. But well within safe tolerances, Herbert answers. Do you have something against Sister West? No, not really. But But nothing, kids being hyper is so normal that the only difference is that they'll have their bedtime maybe a half hour later at most. The kids don't have the digestion to fully take in all the energy from those treats, and if they did, then they'd burn most of it in the much more powerful digestive system. It balances out fairly well. Do you know this for a fact? You think this is the first time I've bribed them with candy? He replies. Speaking of, that's really your big investigative push. Bribery. Yeah, unless the person you're talking to is hostile, a little light bribe gets everything rolling nice and easy. You only have to use the harsh or weird tricks when people refuse to talk. And I don't know about you, but those kids seem pretty eager to chat. They are. Still, they've scrounged through Matilda's junkyard before, but she doesn't supply weapons in it. Things like that she resells almost right away. To find a collection of them in a bag, that's a definite dead drop. I'm not familiar with the term, Chitter admits. A dead drop is a place where you store things like money, supplies, or the like. It's a way to move things from one person to another without any direct links of contact between them. No drones, nothing registered, and as such it's very popular among criminals and people who really value their privacy. Like, say, an intelligence agent. Yes, I've set up and made use of more than a few in my career, he openly admits. And they stumbled onto one, Chitter says. Yes, which can be a very, very bad thing, especially if they know who took their guns and want them back, or worse, don't want witnesses. Do you think that's a possibility? Chitter asks in horror. Possible? Yes. Likely? No. Not a lot of organizations have the teeth to just kill people out of hand, and of those that do, only a few are willing to do so to children. But they do exist, Herbert explains, and Chitter gives him a concerned look. So what are you planning to do? Chitter asks him. I need to check the dead drop itself. Even if the group isn't murderous, few people take this sort of thing lying down. They'll at least look for who took it, and if they find the kids, they may ransack the clubhouse to try and get them back. So just returning them isn't an option? Chitter asks. Depends entirely on the group, but generally no. If someone's trying to smuggle weapons, it's usually not for a good reason. Herbert replies. All right. So Matilda's junkyard, she says, trailing off, and now he gives her an odd look. If you want to come along, there are some rules. I'm a grown woman. I can go where I like. She replies. If you don't want to be arrested for obstruction, then you'll follow two simple rules. If I say cover, you get behind something solid. If I say run, you run. Understand? He says, and she stares. You're right. I don't have legal grounds to stop you from going to a publicly available business in good standing. However, if you want me to cooperate with you in a combat setting, which this might turn into, you have to be willing to cooperate with me. And one of the first things you do in any kind of ranged battle is to get the hell into cover. Even if what's covering you can't stop their attacks, it will at least make their aim uncertain, and that can easily save your life. You're serious about this, she states. Deadly. Between the two of us, you're far more likely to get shot at if you come with me. So if I tell you to get into cover, you better damn well already be there, he says with a stern expression at odds with his cherubic face, one which vanishes entirely as the children rush up to say their goodbyes and ask him to visit the clubhouse more often, and after several minutes assuring them he'll be there and seeing them off before Lady Gear takes a Mozzie 2 to the side to show her where she'll be staying. The two are left alone again with each other, and Chitter looks to him oddly. So you're all right with me coming? No, but you know where I'm going, generally when I'm going and why. You're also very curious, so the better option is to keep an eye on you. I don't want to go to the scene of the dead drop and find that the tracks of a Whimperus have wiped away what little evidence there was to find. Hey, I don't leave a trail. Everyone always leaves a trail. The trick is finding and reading it. Even you? Even me. Right now? He confirms before catching an object tossed at him from the side. Chitter turns and sees a Tret woman is already leaving. I thought your organization was majority men. Men are roughly a single percentile in the galaxy. Of course, we have women in our organization, he answers. Anyways, the easiest way to make sure you don't potentially ruin what I'm going to do is for you to be with me every step. But remember, if I say cover, you get in cover, and if I say run, you run. no exceptions. Do you really think it will be that dangerous? Someone having weapons implies the desire to use them. Someone smuggling them means wanting to use them without others knowing. This could all be harmless. There are ways this could just be a silly situation. But you don't treat it as such until you know for sure, Herbert says. Anyways, if you want to come with me, then come. I'm driving. What about you passing things off to a courier? That was before I learned the weapons came from a dead drop. Now I might need to return them in order to calm down a potentially hostile situation. After all, if all a person lost was some time, then they're more likely to forgive the inconvenience after all. We're not exactly running short on time now, are we? He asks, twirling the key around his finger. Come on, I'm driving. She follows and offers a happy wave to the other sisters of the temple as they depart. So have you been to Matilda's scrapyard before? Yep, kids love the place. Matilda's a bleeding heart that can't say no to them, so she was massively relieved when I paid off their ever-growing tab. He replies, Are you sponsoring those children? I'm nurturing a flaring spark of genius. If they join the Undaunted, then we get an R&D team that's ready, willing, and able to slap together experimental spaceships together. If not, then we keep following them and still benefit from whatever it is they create. They're an investment, but outright adopting them has been taken off the field, as Sister West has strict adoption rules that rule out most Undaunted. Herbert explains as he leads her to a nondescript gray air car that he gets into and starts up. The space inside is expanded, so Chitter fits easily as well. You're one of the only qualifying Undaunted, aren't you? I am, but they would have hundreds of younger siblings to consider as well, and that's just too much, Herbert admits, and Chitter nods. Sister West would want all the children to have the resources and attention a full-size family can bring, and not just one or two people who would be completely distracted or split for time. Matilda recognizes Herbert on sight and waves him in. She knows he's good for things, as he decides to do a preliminary check on the area where the sack of illegal weapons was found. A dead water arumenta is stuffed in there, a hole burnt clear through her chest and heart. Fuck, Herbert hisses out.